Oh, hang on. Alright. Catching up on my latest Stargirl episode, so I know, kind of cheesy. Pause that. Hopefully the fan's not going to interfere with this. It's hot in here, so I had to go get my fan. So 1911 mags. Before we get into this, I'll link our Patreon in the description, like we always do. If you get a chance, check it out. I know we're not allowed to say, like, if we have other streaming sites, whatever, that, you know, such and such time we're going to be having live feed on whatever. YouTube deletes our videos for that. So I'm guessing that means that I'm not allowed to say that the content we're not allowed to put on Facebook, or excuse me, YouTube, because of the censorship, or Facebook. It goes on the Patreon site, so I won't say that because I'm not allowed to say that. Okay, so as talked to a lot of you guys on Twitter, a lot of you on Facebook. As far as the 1911 mags go, this is mainly about my gripe with the Wilsons. From my understanding, the Chip McCormicks are a lot of the same design. I have not ran those, so I won't really comment on those. But this is basically a design gripe, not a particular brand, anything like that. Wilson makes many brands, but this is the brand of Wilsons that I have. Also, more than likely, this video is going to cut off before I get through it, so I'll just restart from wherever I leave off. Not sure which mag is which. This is actually the better one. You can see how this is just real stiff and hard. It's not the spring. And if you notice, when I ease up on the follower, see how it takes just that second before the follower comes up. Also, as you can see, the follower will ride out the front. I'll show you that when we disassemble it. That's my big gripe about this mag. These were given to me. They were brand new, never been used. A friend of mine gave them to me right before he died. So that's why I have those. And yes, I'm drinking the Paul Harrell Special again and spilling it on my table. So let me wipe that off. Yeah, it's hot out here. Okay, guess might as well take the one out the gun. Holster her. As you can see, this thing is absolutely filthy. She hasn't been cleaned in 3 range sessions now. And this is what we've been shooting through her, is the Alox coated lead bullets, the tumble lubes. Not even sizing the bullets. I have the sizer for it. We just load them like they come out of the mold. That's a story for another day. But since all my loads keep getting mixed up, I'm just going to dump these in the tray. That way I can put them back in the mag. So at least they'll be all the same consistency in one mag. Again. So that'll work. I was going to grab my toothpick. As far as disassembly on these, standard, most of your mags. And the other mags we'll be getting into is my factory SIGs and the metal forms, and why I like the metal forms. But this goes back to our follower thing, as when we remove our base plate. And you do have to kind of get in there and push down on that to clear the tab. And it simply has the slide out. Just keep your finger over it. But these, with retaining lips, the spring tends to stay in there. Again, I'm doing this from behind the camera, trying not to knock it off the tripod. And these are actually kind of a pain in the butt. As you can see, you have to work it back and forth, trip one side, get the other side out. And I'll just do it back here, since y'all get the gist. Again, this is not my most favorite setup. And my follower just popped out the top on the floor, and I will show you why in just a minute. And again, that should be easier for the simple fact that magazines are something you do need to clean every once in a while. Now, of course, the USGIs, they have the stamped on floor plates, so it's not something you're going to take apart, but you know. But I just don't like this setup. If I start sneezing on you, you'll have to excuse me. Alright, the follower, the follower does not come out the bottom of this mag. It does not fit in the bottom of this mag. The way the follower goes in and out is your relief cuts here in the top. Your follower goes in this way. Again, I'll try not to knock the camera off to give you a decent look. The follower goes in at an angle. This would be easier if I had a spring in it. Yeah, let's try this. If y'all don't have long-handled, wooden-handled Q-tips, get you some. Excuse me. Yeah, apologies. It's dusty. I had a bad allergic reaction earlier, so my throat's halfway closed shut. So anyway, I'll try to hold it up with this and show you. Well, yeah, excuse me. But this is what holds the mag in from popping out the top when the spring's in it. Well, if you get forward pressure on that, I have had these things, fully assembled mags. And of course, you have the indent in there with your spring. Excuse me, I might have to remake this video just to get all this out. It's supposed to keep it from tilting like that. Well, I have had these before that this would actually pop up and out. And we've had a couple, not my gun, but other guns. As I said, mine's brand new. Excuse me a moment. Preemptive strike. Sorry about the, grossing anybody out. Okay, so other people's magazines, I've had them complain that they've actually had the last round would always jam. And I said, if you check the follower, well, the follower was popping up out whenever it'd go to feed the last round and jamming the gun. We found that out after extended use of, it only does it on the last round. Fires the first 7 perfectly fine. Last round, the gun jams. What was happening is this follower, because the way this is designed, was popping up like this right here out of the magazine and jamming up the gun. So, that is my gripe about the build of these magazines and the fact, I'll put her back together here. One thing I've found when you're assembling these magazines, make sure I have my spring going the right direction, is put the spring most of the way in first. I'll try to do it in front of the camera, but and if you go too far, you got to go back through this, trying to get the thing out, kind of corkscrewing it. But put the spring most of the way in first before you put the follower in. And then you can pull your spring down a little. Again, sorry, Wilson. This is just a bad design on your part, no offense. And that'll keep the follower from tilting back up when you try to put it together. I've just found that to be the easiest way to put it together. So line the spring all the way back down in. Stick the little thing in, keep my finger over the tabby. Then we'll have to put this back in. And you have to make sure this little crook, sorry, my thumb's in the way, this little crook is out the way when you slide the base back. And then, of course, this base just simply, look outside the camera here, behind the rails. Now this is slightly angled. Hopefully you can see that. It is angled toward the back, where the forward catch is going to come this way. This does have a stop on the front to keep it from going off the back, but it is angled, so you're supposed to just have to hold it and push that over. Some of them hang, some of them work. Push it till it locks. Make sure she's up through the tab. Check the follower. Now again, with this follower, now I've cleaned the followers. It's like the followers get kind of gummy, even if you're not shooting them powder residue or anything like that. I've tried oiling them. Like I said, we've had some that work good, but these, it's like the followers are sticky. The plastic is sticky. It's almost like a rubber instead of a hard plastic. We've put Hops number 9 on it. I've used Dremel, and they still get sticky. So that is my gripe with the Wilson magazines. So next up on the agenda, hoping I got back away from the camera far enough to not hear that. So these are my factory SIG magazines that came with the SIG 1911 target, and these are factory SIGs, 8-shot. They do have the extended base plate, which makes them for a 8-shot. Back to the Wilsons. Well, let's see if I can get the gun in the picture here. Of course, I put the mag well on. Yes, I'm running cheap old grips instead of my $200 ironwoods. I just like the feel of these. But even with this extended base plate, as we can see where this comes to. Now this is an 8-shot. We'll use the empty one to illustrate purposes. But before I put the mag well on, it would simply fit flush with the base of the gun. Of course, with the mag well, with this extended, I still get a good mag seat. Show the cut of the bodies. Okay. You'll notice some of your magazines will have a shorter body. Now, when I butt these, well, there's port to port. They're roughly the same length. This is just a tab that sticks up over the front. The spring for this actually comes down to the base section here, which we'll see that in a minute. It's just a hair longer than this, but it's still roughly the same size overall. But if you get the longer body magazines, I've seen a lot of magazine bodies, the 7-rounders that were cut shorter, and they simply put an extended base plate on them. Those can get a little hairy on you. Since I don't have those, I won't get into those. My big thing was getting into the metal forms and why I like them so well. And also running into the follower profiles. This, I know I've got my camera too close, is the original factory SIG magazine with flip step follower. This is the Met Guard magazine. Virtually identical, except for the different follower profile, which we can get into all that in a few minutes, but I'm not saying it's true, but if I had to take a guess, I would say these are the exact same magazines produced by the exact same people in the exact same factory, with the exception that the SIG mags are seamless, and you can see the seams in the metal forms. Excuse me if I call them Met Guards. I've just had too many bad reviews on metal guard, or Met Guards. See, there I go again. That, I know a lot of you guys were talking the other day about, oh, Metgar's good mags. Metgar's Jeep mags. We've had a lot of problems in other guns. Don't know about 1911s. When I had my Beretta 92, that was the only 15 round mags that they could get me. So I got 4 of the Metgar mags. The magazine lips were actually running on the slide. They were actually marking the underside of the slide where they were sticking up and dragging across the magazine because the lips were too high. I ran Metgars in a lot of guns and just never really had any good luck with them. But if you can get them for range mags, remember, a range mag's a range mag. When I carry my factory original 6. I don't need a dozen carry mags. I've got my general carry mags. Range mags, buy cheap mags if you just want to go to the range. That way you get down there, you load all your mags up the night before so you're not loading on the range. Cheap mags are fine. If you have a jam in a range mag, no big deal. We still do the sneak a couple snap caps in on people, you know, in revolvers, put an empty case in the cylinder just to induce a jam, a misfire, for training purposes. So it's not like it's going to hurt anything if your range mag isn't perfect. So anyway, again, it's just uncanny, the resemblance. Now they're not cheap mags by any means. When I got these, they were $12.95. I bought 2. I had a slight issue with 1. They sent me 4 more in place of it. I turned around and bought 2 more after that. Just love the magazines. Now, this is a stainless steel magazine. And again, the reason I'm saying, well, if they were the same manufacturer, they wouldn't have the ridge on the back. But you get my point being. I bought them because they resembled my factory original 6. Now, this coating, this is stainless steel mag. It's full stainless steel, just like this one. This does have the anti-stick coating on it. And these have been used, well, these have been the most used magazines. That's just pocket lint. But you can see a little wear here and there. And especially on the back corners. Where's the other one at? This one has a little more wear. But that is just simply where the slick 'em up has been worn off. And you can see here, this is from my magazine catch, which I'll show you another trick on that. These scratched up. This one's been carried in the toolbox. It stayed in the console of the truck. It's been beat around, banged around, so that's why it's got, as you can see, the scratches in it. But for a beater magazine, surprised how it held up. So, into the internals again. Now when this one comes off, it too has the rolled crimp, and you actually have to slide out from under your base plate. And if you will notice, the pin on this base, it's just a heavy square pin. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. Alright, there she is. Okay. Now, the thing about the factory SIGs, you do have to really pay attention which way your follower comes, or your magazine spring comes out in relation to your follower. And yes, I know this one's sticking because this one's dirty. This one's had, I don't know how many rounds of lead ammo fired through it. But the follower is a still follower. Well, I got her out, might as well wipe her off. Yeah, try to kill two birds with one stone. Well, you'll notice the difference in the follower profiles here is this does have the full ride follower. That's a debate for another day on how your follower cuts are supposed to be. Are you supposed to have a 2/3 shank follower? Are you supposed to have the full ride follower? You know, what's the benefits? That's where it goes into a lot of the old 1911s versus the newer model 1911s. The old original, they always say that a 1911 was meant to be loaded out of the mag, that the round is supposed to come up underneath the extractor. So, yeah, that's a debate for another day. Your new extractors, you're running heavy wide extractors, that's going to be more of a case for reliability. Still, there should be no problem with chambering around, dropping around in the chamber, that is, and letting the slide go forward on it. That shouldn't be an issue if it's a proper made gun with a proper styled extractor. That's just my opinion. So, these have a great old big button on the bottom of them, so you don't have to worry about, if you got your little enough pin. Now, when these come off, again, these do run rails, but it's a different rail system. And of course, it is plastic, but I have had no issues out of that. This is why they put the big button, just like running PMags. All right, this one, very easy disassembly. Another thing that we'll note here is you see it has a transitional magazine spring where it goes from your full-size mag to a transitional. I found this with these followers. I know they run the wide ones, and then you're supposed to have the anti-tilt follower, which Wilson certainly aren't. But this follower is an anti-tilt follower. It feeds straight off the ramp, and once you start feeding, this is simple dead space in the front of your mag. The reason this transitions down to a smaller is to fit in your ramp, and that'll still leave compression for a few rounds. But this is an anti-tilt follower. This is one of the few. I could be wrong. If you guys know of any more, please put it in the comments down there. Let me know. Again, I'm not a 45 aficionado. I run the mags I have. If I ever do buy any more, it will be